Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. This edition of it, I'm Paul Jasson. Thank you for joining us. We're downtown in the lobby of Fairfield Federal, and if you think back to last year, middle of the year, around June, the city economic director, Mike Pettit, retired. Long career, gas company, economic development. Mike retired, many years on this job. And so the replacement was found, and a young lady was brought in to do that. Her name is Stephanie Bosco. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you.
First time here as a guest.
That's right. Yes.
And so June of last year, late June of last June,
30th,
you took over, and so now close 9 months on the job, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
You shadowed Mike, I know, for a while and got to see how he did it. First year, pretty much what you thought?
Yes. Busy.
Lots
going on. Lots in the hopper.
Good.
But with interest rates rising and the economy unsteady, it's bringing up new challenges. But it's nothing we haven't dealt with in the last 20 years or so.
And we'll talk about all that, how it affects what you do and how you do it. Mm-hmm. But if you look at economic development, I don't know what a real definition of your job would be. What when they said, Stephanie, we want you to work for us and here's what you need to do. But It would seem to me that it would be actively getting new businesses to come to town, retaining the businesses that are already here.
That's right.
And getting good, this is what I hear on TV, good, high-paying job. That's the phrase I hear on TV for people around Lancaster and Fairfield County. Would that be close to what your job is?
Absolutely how I would describe it, very simply put. Mm-hmm. Yes. And when we talk about good, high-paying jobs, we're really thinking about manufacturing.
Yes.
So we will go after manufacturing. If we have a developer or a user who has distribution, we will absolutely react to it. But when there's only a limited supply of time and effort that we can really proactively go after businesses, and when we do that, we really focus on manufacturing just to build off the legacy here in Lancaster.
And I would think that depending on what city you represented, of course it's Lancaster, but depending on what city you represented, that would sort of make the determination on who you go after. Lancaster, I'd say more of a manufacturing kind of town. Maybe if you were in Pickerington, maybe you would look at a different job set or a job skill to do that.
Yes, I've worked in communities. Generally, I've worked in communities that are manufacturing focused, but I used to work in a community that had a lot of distribution and got a lot of distribution because of where it was located along 70 and I-71.
Sure,
and so it just made sense. But certainly, and this is something I learned being on the regional level, is you're going to want to send jobs or attract the types of jobs that the community wants. Mm-hmm. If a community wants a certain, if a community wants and knows their strength is here, then let's send those types of jobs here. If they have a lot of skill in another industry, then send those types of jobs. Certainly, communities have an idea of where their strengths are and what they would like to see in their community, and we want to follow that.
It's good to have, when we think of, and I don't know if you were around back then, but let's say maybe 10 years ago, the downtown was pretty dry. There wasn't much going on. And then the Ale House many years ago opened up, and that seemed to me to be the signal, the beginning of what has really turned into a pretty vibrant downtown scene anymore. And there's lots of things going on down here, but those aren't your kind of jobs.
No.
Those aren't the jobs that you typically would go after.
That's right. We have someone in that position that does that.
Sure.
We have Amanda Everett does that for Destination Downtown Lancaster.
Yeah. And Visitors Bureau.
The Visitors Bureau. And we do work together, but that is definitely her wheelhouse.
Sure.
And she is able to stay on top of everything going on downtown, which is a lot.
It is.
And then I am focused on industrial quite a bit. But then as the city economic development director, I'm also engaged in development that is retail, that is housing, all sorts of housing, that is mixed use.
Sure.
It's just perhaps the city is in the driver's seat on some of those projects a little more than me.
One of the things that we see every day, or if you're over on 33, you look at Miller Park.
Yes.
What used to be Miller Park.
Yes.
And maybe will again be Miller
It
Park.
will.
But right now, it's a heck of a mess down there.
That's right.
I just came by there today, and I don't go by there every day, but it seems like every day I do go by, it looks dramatically different. There's walls going up on a building right now. It's amazing. So I guess that would pertain to you, I would think, in terms of that is needed because of some industrial growth we have here.
That's right. That water treatment plant is needed.
Is that related sort of to Google?
It is related to industrial growth. That's
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
It is. It's upgraded. It's going to be larger. It's going to be higher quality water.
Mm-hmm.
And the water plant that was there, it was aging.
Yes.
And it needed upgrades.
Timing was right.
That's right. So the industrial growth that we've had is definitely enabling that development. And there is, the city has a master plan for that park, and I do see that as being one of the big center points of the community. The Essex building
Yes.
is about a block away. That just received some state tax
Right.
incentives.
I just had the mayor on a couple weeks ago, and that
Right,
was a
talk
big
about
thing
that.
in
Yes.
his wheelhouse.
Yes, and it's wonderful, and I'm certainly not here to
Is that
take
moving
any-
forward, do we
It is-
think?
It is now that those tax credits have hit. Now we're going to see a big momentum.
Very good, because it was kind of
that's-
stalled there for a bit.
That's right. It was really because the gap in financing is just
Yes,
so great.
yes.
But our those developers, Urban Restoration, Bob Schillig is just dedicated to this project and to this community. So he was not giving up. And when we found out that they finally got some of those tax credits, it was cheers. And I think the news article said something about Bob wasn't going to do the backflips, but perhaps Mayor Scheffler was going to do backflips. We're still kind of waiting for that, but
I'd like to video that when he
right.
does that. I'd like to see Dave do that.
yes. But there was, this is going to move that. It's going to create great momentum, and that's only a block away from Miller Park. So I can definitely see some synergies there. With some other developments going on downtown, the Gateway project also has new momentum, and that's just 2 blocks south of Miller
That thing
Park.
sat there for a while.
I know. We're excited.
Nothing
to
you
see-
can tell us, but okay.
No.
I got you.
I mean, the mayor announced at the State of the City that it will be mixed use.
Yes.
And that there is a focus on potentially a boutique hotel, which
Right.
our community
We
desperately
need
needs.
that.
And so we're really we're doing everything we can to help Fairfield Homes get that moving.
And we talked to, I'm talking to Stephanie Bosco. Stephanie is the Economic Development Director / Executive Director of the Port Authority.
That's
And
right.
if we have time, we'll get into what that and how that ties into what you do in your economic development job. But we see this going on here, and I would have to think that, again, I'm sure with the Essex building, there was grants, there was all kind of things tied in together, financing, and you spoke a little bit earlier. The rising interest rates have to play a factor in decisions made by businesses to come here, to move in, things that you can control.
That's right. So we've been talking to an industrial user that's eyeing the Rock Mill Industrial Park for a development, a rather large development and a good number of jobs. And we've been talking to them over a year. And once we think we're almost there, the interest rates went up, and so there's still great interest. I don't believe that they're looking elsewhere, but I think the timing is going to change because of what's going on. So it used to be construction costs, construction delays, and we're still feeling that a bit, but that's kind of leveling out. It's a little more predictable, but now with the interest rates, it's just going to change things. So it's just kind of like rolling with the punches over and over again.
Several years ago, I remember we had Mike on, and we were talking about they were doing something that maybe I hadn't even heard of. They were building what they called a spec building.
Yes.
Because businesses want to come in, but they need something now.
Yes.
They may need something big. It has to fill a certain cubic feet size, and it has to be certain things where it's located, and that's kind of sat there for a while, but eventually it went, and as I understand, maybe we're back in that mode right now?
Yes, so the most recent 50,000 square foot spec building was utilized by Magna as they were ramping up and building their building. And Magna, by the way, just announced an expansion early last year, and so they're continuing to grow, which is really great. And then we got a new user in there, Chiyoda Integre, and they're a Japanese automotive parts manufacturer. They were on a lease, and to our surprise, after about a year, they called and said, we want to buy the building, which is really great. It just kind of highlights their commitment to this location. So that has enabled us to really start considering what we're going to do next.
Okay. Is this all out of Rock Mill?
That's right. I'm sorry. This is all out of Rock Mill. Yep. And so we are considering a new 50,000 square foot spec building because, just as you said, users want the option to be able to move in right away.
They don't have time to wait for you to build this building.
That's right. And one thing we've learned from our regional partners is that our Intel suppliers, a great number of Intel suppliers are actually looking for 50,000 square foot
And that's
buildings.
interesting because that's what happens when a place, I guess they have a place out in Arizona, maybe I was watching a special, but all the side things that have grown up from that, it's astronomical,
That's
the effect it has on many communities.
Absolutely. So we expect, we have had visits from Intel suppliers. We hope to land one or two, maybe five.
It's been going on for a while.
That's right. And five, I'm probably exaggerating and being very optimistic, but we are hoping to land some, and we think that the spec building could help enable that. So we're in our early stages. We're in our financing stages because what is affecting that large industrial user who is putting off construction is affecting us as well. And so we really have to be very mindful about
rolls
our
downhill
financing.
and then,
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
right. So we're hoping. I'm not gonna. I actually have stopped. I've stopped predicting. We're hoping one day to build it. More in the near future. So.
And again, that I think we saw. Well, you see it with anything. I remember years ago when Eastland Shopping Center was built. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and then for the next 20 years, things grew up around it. I mean, a whole community ends up going around it, and this is sort of what happens with an Intel.
Yes.
Right there, bingo. It's huge, but then all the kind of secondary and tertiary businesses and suppliers that need to be here to get that stuff done, they end up looking around.
That's right. And we really do feel like we're far enough away that we're probably not going to fight for all of the exact same workforce. I mean, there certainly will be overlap. There will be certain types of jobs that we'll be fighting for, or they'll be fighting for from us. But we think we're far enough away that we have a real strength. And we also have to remember that the battery facility down in Fayette County is about as far away from us as Intel is. So it's another behemoth that potentially we could get some suppliers from.
Well, I think you can tell by listening to what Stephanie tells us that there's a lot going on in the world of economic development. Some she can share with us, some she's not able to share, and that will be for another time. So can we get you back and talk about things as they progress in the future? And
yes.
Talk about all kind of cool, positive things happening?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to make one plug is recently we had a meeting with Zebco and Industries.
Yeah.
They're downtown.
Right.
We were discussing what their growth plans were. We were able to find a program that would help them pay for about a quarter of some machinery and equipment they just purchased, which will help them grow jobs and upgrade. That's right.
Yeah.
And so if there are any businesses, any industrial users, large, small, it doesn't have to just be industrial users, any kind of business in town that would like to come talk to me, I would like to talk to you.
Yeah.
See if there are any resources that I can uncover, whether it be workforce, grants, dollars to help you grow. I'd like to help you out with that.
Very good. Stephanie Bosco, Economic Development Director with Lancaster. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Look for a good, fun few years to come here
I hope
as
so.
things grow.
I think so. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment.
You walked down the aisle and promised happily ever after. Sometimes happily ever after means ending a relationship. We know the conversations are not easy. Deciding what's best for you, your children, and your next steps takes work and communication. At Dagger Law, we know there are no monsters in a divorce, only people trying to find their way. Local, trusted, experienced. Dagger Law.
The staff that have been here know what it takes. They've been on the other side. They see what it takes to make someone comfortable, to make the family comfortable, and really what kind of support they need. And so I think that's what really makes Fairfield what it is.
You quit smoking and thought, that's that. But here's the thing about lung cancer. By the time you see the symptoms, it could be too late. But now, there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early when it's more curable. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
My name is Allie. I just became 14 years sober at the end of last month. Through the support of my family and friends, I got the courage to ask for help. And through treatment services and the recovery community, I was able to start my recovery journey. Now I get to work as a peer supporter and an addiction treatment navigator where I get to help the next sick and suffering. If you don't have family and friends that can support you right now, you can find those supports through treatment providers, the recovery community, and peer supporters like me. Every life matters, and your recovery is worth it.
This message is brought to you by the Fairfield County Adam H. Board.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Welcome back to Fairfield Today. Paul Jasson with you. In this edition, we're going to shift gears a little bit. It's always fun to talk about that, kind of the artsy side of things. Lots of things for a couple of years. Everything kind of was knocked down. We didn't have any, and now they're all back, and all the plays that the schools have, the outside plays that the communities have, the festivals that many of the community have, they're all kind of back full 100% go now. And we're going to talk about one of those now. We always like to talk about the Millersport Community Theatre, one of the long-running community theaters around that just do such a great job with the musicals and the plays and everything. They always a lot of variation, a lot of fun, and we've always had a good time talking about it. Pleasure to have on with us today Ethan Mauger. Ethan, welcome.
Thank you.
Ethan is the director this year of the Millersport Community Theatre. Your first time as a director?
Yes, my first time directing.
Okay.
I've had some experience backstage, but most of my experience has been on stage.
Sure.
Plenty of productions over at Millersport, over at Ohio University Lancaster. A few things back at Liberty Union High School, back when I was going to Liberty Union High School.
Sure.
So, yeah, very exciting. I've been talking about trying to direct something for a while, and things just kind of fell into place this spring. So
it's Once Upon a Mattress, and it's coming up really not too far away in the future here, April 14th, 15th, 16th, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday nights at 7:30?
Yes, Friday and Saturday night will be at 7:30. Doors will open at 7.
Okay.
And Sunday afternoon will be at 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
Doors will open at 1:30.
Okay, and we'll talk about getting tickets because you're going to need them for that, so we'll discuss that. But Once Upon a Mattress, is this something you were involved in, the choosing of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of last year we started, last summer or so, we started kind of trying to figure out what the season was going to be this year.
Kind of have to get ahead on this.
Right.
Yeah.
And last season we kind of slid it in right at the last minute. Like I think it was December, a couple weeks before Christmas, we chose the season because we were kind of getting back into the swing of things.
Yep.
So last season was a very last minute decision. So this year we were like, we need to kind of get ahead on this. So last summer when we were doing Shrek, the musical, we were starting to choose, what we were going to be doing this year. And for the spring, I mean, we kind of had the summer and the fall figured out pretty well, but for the spring, we were just really racking our brains. And I had already told them that I would do it in the spring.
That you would direct?
Yes, that I would direct. So
you did that before you knew what the play was?
Right, exactly.
Okay,
I said,
all
I'll
right.
direct
That's
in
a
the
lot of
spring.
faith, man.
Brent Lavoie and Joanna Whetstone Lavoie, they've been the ones leading the charge on a lot of the shows, and they announced that they were having a child
Yes.
last
Congratulations to them.
year. Yep, absolutely. And so they knew that having a child and trying to direct a show might not work. So I said, well, I'll do it. So we were trying to find a show, and we had been scrolling through so many things. Well, this won't work because of the cast size. This won't work because of, just general interest. And finally, I found Once Upon a Mattress, and I had this
Epiphany?
Yeah, epiphany, like
Okay.
a nostalgia moment, because Once Upon a Mattress was one of the shows that really got me into musical theater.
Oh, nice.
When I was real little, like 4 or 5, they made a TV movie of it just recently back then, but of course it's 15, almost 20 years ago now. That had Carol Burnett and Tracy Ullman in it. And for those who don't know, this show was originally the show back in the 60s, I think, that made Carol Burnett who she is. The show was actually her Broadway debut back in the 60s.
That's pretty big.
Right, and so this was the show that made Carol Burnett the household name that Carol Burnett is now. And they made a TV movie with it later on where she played a different character. She played the villain instead of the princess. So I just had this moment where I was like, oh my God, this is the one. This is the one we need to do.
Well, nice. And again, you've already committed to being the directing, so it's nice now that you think this is the one, and
Right.
you feel comfortable doing that. So tell us, what's the premise of this then? Good versus evil?
Yeah, well, kind of. It's a little more like in the 60s. A lot of the jokes were those very niche, like husband and wife, mother-in-law versus daughter-in-law.
Some don't hold up that well now.
Right. And so this show is kind of a farcical retelling of The Princess and the Pea.
Okay.
And the kind of twist is that the queen, instead of just giving a test because she wants to make sure she's a real princess, the queen is giving a test to make sure that she's good enough for her baby boy, for her little sweetiekins, whatever all the things that she calls them during the show. And it's very much the queen says so many times. The queen is played by the brilliant Misty Connor. Very popular over there in Millersport, but she says so many times, if only you had someone like me, if only I was 20 years younger, things like that. So that's really what this show is about. Is the princess is very much an unconventional girl. She's a little bit of a tomboy, a little goofy, and so she just wants to find that happily ever after that all the other normal princesses get, and the prince Dauntless just wants to marry somebody. He wants to find the girl that he's going to fall in love with, and they've been through so many that he's just like, we don't need to give them this test, we just need to do it. And of course his mother doesn't want to be an empty nester. She wants to keep her little boy. She doesn't want him to grow up, all those kind of things. So
sounds like it's going to be a lot of laughs.
Yes.
Carol Burnett was that girl then.
Right, she was the princess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many people are in the cast? And this is a musical, so
yes.
How many folks you got?
We've got about 30 in the cast, I want to say, maybe 20 or 30. I would say 30, including the orchestra. So, that really nice, manageable cast size, especially for a first-time director like myself.
Yeah. So you're not a player coach. You're not acting at all. You're just doing directing.
No, not this time.
Have you done that, or you've actually directed and played?
Not as such.
That sounds like it'd be tough.
Not too much. I've done plenty of backstage work.
Sure.
But most of the time, if I'm backstage, I'm backstage, and if I'm on stage, I'm on stage. I might help with a few things, but sometimes I find it a little hard to multitask.
Plenty a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, plenty of people will tell you that.
Yeah.
I won't try to pretend like it's not the truth. But
bite off more.
Right, exactly. So I figured it's my first time directing. I'm just gonna do that and make sure I can do it to the best of my ability.
It's Millersport Community Theatre. Our guest is director Ethan Mauger. It's Once Upon a Mattress is a play, and again, well known to many people. Been on TV, been everywhere for a lot of years. It's April 14th, 15th, and 16th. 14th and 15th at 7:30. That's a Friday, Saturday at 7:30 at night. And doors open at 7?
Yes.
Okay. And then Sunday is the 2 o'clock matinee. Doors open at 1?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how about tickets? Online, probably?
Yes. You can buy tickets on our website at mctohio.com. If you don't want to type that in, you can type it in on Facebook and follow the link from there. Otherwise, you can buy tickets at the door, but we really do recommend that you get them ahead of time.
Sure.
Because the sooner you get them, the more likely you are to get good seats.
And you can pick out your seats. When
Right,
you do
exactly.
that. Now, we've had the poster. We've shown that a couple times up here. Lots going on with that. Good-looking poster.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, a lot of color, kind of hits you, big pizzazz on that. When
Right,
it hits you.
exactly.
You guys designed that?
Yeah, so Brent
Okay.
Lavoie does all of our graphic design, and he is excellent
Yeah,
at it. He
that's
really
really
he
nice.
really deserves to get paid. But when you're a nonprofit, it's just not something that we really focus on.
And when you're a Whetstone, you just do this.
Right,
This is in your DNA.
Yeah, Brent's kind of a Whetstone without the name.
Yep.
He married in, and he already had the whole the thing going that they've got going. So he does an excellent job. All of our graphic design looks really good. He just redesigned our logo about a year and a half ago.
A lot of graphic knowledge.
Yeah, he's very, very good at it.
Yeah. So when you put out the word for casting on this, again, it's a musical and a play, so you got to be kind of multi-talented to do this. Do people, is it kind of Columbus around, regional people come in?
Yeah, so for all of our shows, it's really a different pool. I don't think that we've had one show or any two shows where we've had the same group of people. Every time you get more people from another
Right.
area.
And there's other things going on. Somebody
Right,
that may
exactly.
wanted to do this, maybe they couldn't even do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one of the joys of doing theater, is that it's always a different group of people. One of the things that we like to say at the end of every show, before the last show, is this is the last time that we are all going to be in the same place at the same time.
Won't happen again.
Right, exactly.
So this is a spring show. You have one in the summer, one in the fall. Do you have those spec'd out yet, or are you just still?
Yes. So this summer we're doing Chicago.
Nice.
Which is very exciting. And this fall we're doing She Loves Me, which is another kind of farcical musical made kind of during the golden age of Broadway. It's very funny. In Chicago, everyone knows Chicago, so that's very exciting. And talking about shows that we get a brand new group of people out for, we're expecting a lot of people coming out for Chicago. So.
Well, it's in the Millersport Elementary School right there when you come into town.
Yep.
April 14th, 15th, 16th. Once Upon a Mattress is the play, the musical. Friday, Saturday night at 7:30, and then Sunday a matinee at 2. So it's going to be an exciting time.
Absolutely.
Getting down there now, kind of getting to it, and
Yep.
all this work is. How long? When did you start practicing?
Yeah, so we started back in January.
Wow.
Had a couple things going on that kind of set us back a little bit, but we've been practicing, and just a couple weeks ago we started doing full runs of the show, which is always one of the most exciting parts, when you kind of get to see everything come together. And you think, as a first-time director, it was exciting because you're like, oh, all of the things that I put together actually work together.
How nice.
Yeah. So
as a director, you're digging that.
Right. It was a relief, truly. But the cast has made it super easy. They're all a joy to work with. They're very, very talented, work very hard. And I could not ask for a better group of people to have done this with. So
Ethan Mauger has been our guest. He is the director of Once Upon a Mattress, coming up very soon, April 14th, 15th, 16th, up in Millersport. mctohio.com is the website. Get on there,
Yes.
get tickets. You can get them at the door, but better to get them ahead. That way you got your seats you want. You'll be ready to go. How much are the tickets?
$15.
$15. More than reasonable for what you got out of this. Millersport. Community Theatre. Always just a wonderful value. Thanks for coming on, Ethan. Best of luck.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.